unclear whether or not that was successful, although, as I said, by now you would think that we would see a little bit of a slowing here for this party bus, so perhaps that was not a successful toss by the officer. Perhaps it's something that they will perhaps they're going to attempt this again. We're going to bring in our police specialist, Dennis Zine, former police officer, former city councilman, to weigh in on what he's seeing right here. Dennis, to try and throw those spike strips I was seeing across the 14 freeway there, that is quite risky, I would say. You know, when a car or a vehicle of this size is traveling at that high rate of a speed. You ever seen anything like that?
Not this type. I've seen a number of vehicles, and I've been involved in a number of pursuits. Nothing like this. Have they verified there are no passengers other than the individual that stole the bus?
We have no verification at all. All we could see now at this point through our eyes on Skyfox is the driver himself. But as I said, this is a vehicle that is intended to carry 20 to 25 people. I'm sure you could shove more in there. So we're really not sure whether or not there's anybody else inside the bus.
See, that'd be my first concern. If there's any passengers, if it's a stolen bus, that's one issue with the individual that stole it. But if there's passengers, obviously ultimate concern for their safety. If it's just the driver who stole the bus in, obviously in pursuit by the California Patrol, but that's a consideration. Make sure that there are no passengers, unwilling participants on that. But this is unusual, but we've seen the spike strips used on large vehicles, sometimes trucks, large trucks. It's possible on a freeway at that speed. It's not recommended. You want to have a safe speed when you employ the spike strips, and the speed of this particular bus is really excessive as far as the utilization of the spike strips. So I would say no as far as this situation. Then there are other vehicles. Obviously, traffic is very light on this freeway at this time, but concern about public safety. The big concern that they have now in pursuits is public safety. You'll terminate the pursuit. You'll track whatever you can do to make sure that people are safe. That's ultimate concern. Pursuits, yesteryear, you didn't have that concern. Now that's a major concern, the population, the traffic on the roadway, pedestrians, etc. Here we don't have anything pedestrians. We don't have cross traffic. Simply you've got that. So they can run this until it runs out of gas. Often we've seen, and you and I've seen many of these pursuits that go on for a long, long period of time until they do run out of gas and then they surrender. So what we have here is open roadway. The stolen bus is traveling at what I would consider not an unreasonable speed, obviously passing vehicles, but it's not an unreasonable speed. And those vehicles do have a tendency not to tap out at a large miles per hour. I think we've got the CHP in pursuit on this also. Their air unit.
You know, it's interesting because I brought that up to Stu Mendel earlier that this driver is not necessarily driving erratically. You know, we've covered many a pursuit where the driver is an extreme danger to other drivers on the roadway, or if this was on a surface street and we were dealing with pedestrians and families on streets, something that was near schools. But this driver, you know, perhaps the party bus is going at speeds over the speed limit, but not in excess of, let's say, 80, 90 miles per hour. So with an open road like this, you would think that the strategy would be just to stick with it. And mind you, Dennis, this is a party bus that we believe comes out of San Diego. We don't know how much gas is in the tank, but it did come up from San Diego, and it just driving this long distance, it probably already burned a good amount of gas.
I would say it would burn a number of gallons. It probably gets maybe 7, 8 miles per gallon. Large vehicles like that, like a motorhome, they don't get many miles per gallon. They do have large tanks. I doubt if that would be able to go from San Diego to San Francisco. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does run out of fuel. Obviously, passing vehicles is probably going in the 70-mile-an-hour range. I would assume we're in that vicinity, 70, 75 miles per hour on that roadway. But that roadway is obviously clear. The advantage on this particular situation is you don't have cross traffic, you got light traffic, no pedestrians, no bicycles. So it's a safer environment as far as that vehicle that's leaving, that's trying to avoid capture. But there's no place to hide. It's not like they can run into a parking lot and jump out and conceal themselves. I mean, they're out in the open area right now. There's no place to conceal. So either run out of gas or surrender are the two options that we see at this particular time. They're not going to do a pit maneuver on something like this.
Yeah, we want to let our viewers know that we're going to stick with this as long as we can. We are going through some mountains and passes as we enter the Antelope Valley area. Sometimes the signal can be a little spotty over there, so if we kind of like cut in and cut out, we will stay with this as long as we can. So just bear with us as we continue to watch this party bus pursuit. It really interesting here, Dennis, as we're watching this party bus. We were saying that this is a bus that normally would you know, they take this on wine country tours and beer tours, probably in the Justin area and Temecula, those sort of areas. It can hold about 20 to 25 people. And now it is on this pursuit. We don't know who is behind the wheel right now. We have Officer, I'm sorry, with the CHP. Could you tell us who I'm talking to here?
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, my name is Officer Gonzalez with the California Highway Patrol.
Hi, Officer Gonzalez. Thanks for joining us. What can you tell us so far, what we know about this pursuit? Where did this start? And do we know who this is behind the wheel?
Yes, so at this time, the only information that we have is that this limo bus was actually stolen from the San Diego area, and that's when we took over the pursuit.
Okay, and the pursuit was taken over once it crossed the Los Angeles County line, or when does that happen? Was the San Diego County authorities on this at first?
Yes, so we received a call from the reporting party, and that's when we took over the pursuit. And it was in San Diego area, and they have entered LA County, so this is the reason why we're involved in the pursuit. Mm-hmm.
And what can you tell us about what the officers are doing now? We did see a spike strip that was thrown across the roadway, and also we saw one of your helicopters, one of the California Highway Patrol helicopters overhead. What can you tell us about what's being done here, or what perhaps might be the strategy here to as we watch this party bus continue on?
Yeah, at this point, we don't know how many, if there's any passengers in the back of the bus. We don't even have any information on the driver. We just know that, it's stolen, so we do want to make sure that, the public is safe and the actual driver is safe as well. So, spike strip was a technique that we used, but we do want the bus, to come to a complete stop at a reasonable speed. So that's why we use a spike strip.
Often people wonder if there's any communication with the driver. Do you have any information about any communication that they may have with the driver? I mean, that would be one of the easiest things, is to try to negotiate with the driver to have them come to a safe stop on the shoulder there.
Yeah, actually at this point we don't have any information on the driver. The only information that we do have is that the reporting party contacted us, so that's why we got involved in this pursuit, and we're following the bus right now.
And just really quickly, Officer, what would you say to other drivers that were on the roadway? Because it's often alarming when you see something like this, and obviously we live in Southern California. We're used to seeing unusual things, but to see a party bus kind of creep along your way, and then obviously there are other black and whites, other of your units in pursuit there. What's the message out there to the general public?
Absolutely. We just want the public to know that, our officers are trained professionals. They're trained professionals, So we just, we want the public to know that they've had extensive training in this, and if the public is encountered in a pursuit, we just want them to remain calm. Sometimes we just want our drivers to move over to the right. So if they hear the lights and sirens behind them, just slowly move over to the right, make your actions known, and make sure that, they just move over slowly to the right.
Some very good advice. All right.
And they also signal before changing lanes.
Of course, always signal. Officer, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We're going to go back up to Stu Mundell and Sky Fox. He's got an eye on this. Stu.
Bobby, we've been watching. There was another chance for another spike strip, and they just didn't do it. The officers decided probably it was a little too dangerous, or there was something that caused them not to. So that was over there at Sierra Highway, at the 14 northbound Sierra Highway. Acton is where we are. Crown Valley is coming up, is going to be the next off-ramp. That party bus at one time, you have to excuse me, I haven't had the luxury of hearing you earlier on, almost came to a stop there on the 14 for a moment or two. We thought maybe maybe something had happened or the vehicle had conked out, but it just kind of really came to an almost stop and then continued down on the northbound 14 freeway. You know, the California Highway Patrol, they're doing what they can to track this vehicle. I heard one of the officers calling in and giving the information that they had, and they were talking about that, and I was listening in best I could at that point about, you know, the actual owner. I think that is an interesting part of this whole dynamic, that the owner was the one that actually was tracking it and said, hey, this is where my bus is, you know, can you come and try to stop it? Right now, though, that driver just continues to drive. I would almost guess, now this is, you know, again, this is how you can be wrong, is when you just start throwing out guesses, is that I have a feeling that that driver knows what they're doing, possibly somebody that's driven a vehicle like that before, because we haven't seen anything too erratic except for that decision at the last moment to take the 14. The bus itself been basically staying at little better than freeway speeds. That's a great shot right there, Justin, showing the California Highway Patrol helicopter above of it and talking to the officers down there on the ground. Same type of deal like Sky Fox. They're going to kind of just keep with it and to relay information to the officers, and if they need something like what's going on ahead, things like that, that helicopter will take care of it. And if they actually need it at the end, that we've seen it in the past, that helicopter will land where it is safe and an officer will get out to actually conduct or help in conducting an arrest. Right now, though, this one just seems to be a slow-moving party bus. This vehicle moving along right here, it has been an uphill grade the entire time, so whatever gas mileage that vehicle or diesel, you know, it was getting, it's going to be a little bit worse, and hopefully they just didn't have that thing filled up when it was taken, because these, you know, how do you stop something like that? Yes, they're using spike strips. There was one actual attempt, and then a second one where they kind of just aborted it at the last moment, not really sure why. But you know, we talked about doing the pit. They're not going to do it on the freeway. They're not going to do it when speeds are up this high. And you know, that vehicle itself, you know, like you said, it's big, it's heavy, it's lumbering is probably a good word for it. But you know, in the end, it's the driver. That's, you know, that vehicle isn't going on its own. The driver's driving it. That's the person making the decisions. Right now, that person's making a decision not to stop, and it just continues on. There's another California Highway Patrol vehicle. And this is the thing, too. I don't think that one is actually going to do any kind of pit maneuver just where it's located on the freeway. A lot of these officers, they're out here patrolling. I'm sure they want to get involved in this chase, but, you know, they've got a different job to do. Actually, it's on the go, so they're probably switching off. It's probably another officer taking somebody else's spot. But again, you know, this is going to go till it stops. I know that sounds almost like, you know, I'm trying to be funny or poking fun at it, but it's the truth with this one. That's a big vehicle. They can try to get those spike strips ahead of it. The driver's the one that's going to make that decision to bring it to an end. But right now, that driver just continuing to go and go. He's going to enjoy his last couple of moments of freedom, because when this is over, he's going to go in handcuffs, and hopefully he's going to go in the back of a police car and nothing else. Right now, though, this is just continuing on a little better than freeway speeds. We're making our way into Palmdale. Going to start some downhill, so whatever he lost in gas mileage, he might gain here in a little bit. Bobby?
Well, the farther this driver goes into the Palmdale, Lancaster area, and then beyond, perhaps even into the Mojave area. And again, we're telling you right now that we are cutting in and out of the video here because it does go through the canyons and the passes there, and our signal is quite spotty, but we will stick with it as much as possible. That the roads there are a lot more open, and so the CHP perhaps might just let that driver continue to drive on until the driver runs out of gas. The driver, we do know now that this pursuit of this party bus started in the San Diego area. Let's bring Dennis Zine, police specialist, back in to talk a little bit more about this. At this point, Dennis, I don't believe those spike strips worked, obviously. You could almost tell that the driver had almost swerved away from the spike strips and perhaps saw that the CHP was trying to do this.
Well, what we have is the open area, so the driver's going to be able to see anything that takes place on the roadway because you have you got great visibility. There's really no impediments. LAPD policy. They're not going to use a spike strip when it's excessive speed. And it appears that this vehicle is going 60-plus miles per hour.
And by the way, Dennis, let's point out, because we're off the freeway now, it looks like this driver decided to dump off on Pear Blossom Highway off the 14 freeway. So the driver is pulling off, and in certain situations like this, when we've seen in pursuits in the past, the driver is being very erratic. This driver, for the most part, is following not trying to pass or go around vehicles or anything like that. Certainly didn't stop for the stop sign there, but is not, could certainly be driving in a more erratic way. I want to correct myself. The driver, I'm being told now, is on Sierra Highway off the 14 freeway, Dennis.
Yes, I've been on that road, and I've been on these party buses in the past. They're a fun bus, obviously. I hope there's no passengers other than the driver, because they'd be getting a very dangerous ride. What we see now is going on to open area. Again, you don't have a lot of impediments on the roadway other than the traffic and a lot of truck traffic up in that particular area. So you've got the desolate area. Again, there's no place to hide. There's no buildings and parking lots, et cetera. You're in a pretty open area. And what we'll find is this continues a little more populated than we saw on the freeway as this vehicle continues. Now, Stu above on Skyfox has a great view of what's going on, but this will continue. Hopefully they'll run out of gas. That'll be the simple solution. CHP officers will change. They'll go to different areas, different zones, and you'll see different changes taking place where one team, the team from San Diego, I'm sure, is no longer involved in it. So they'll get other areas from Los Angeles and now in the Antelope Valley area. But they got different segments, different areas that they cover, and they will spin off to another division of the California Patrol. Obviously, they have jurisdiction throughout the state, but this is a typical CHP situation where they got the resources, and they will just change off as they go further up into the other area. Again, you see the territory.
Whoa! And then there was the party bus then rear-ended a vehicle there. We believe this is on Sierra Highway.
Sierra Highway.
And certainly the party bus comes to a stop. We can only hope that the vehicle that was rear-ended, that the people inside that vehicle are okay. And looks like that other vehicle comes to a stop on the other side of the roadway. We do have a number of police units surrounding the party bus right now, but the party bus has come to a stop, and we're going to stick with it right here. Stu Mendel and Skyfox. Stu, what an end to that right there.
Well, it's one of those situations where I am always kind of torn on really how to report this. That was a pretty solid hit to that back of that vehicle that you saw there, that little silver car. That little silver car kind of sitting by itself, wrong side of the road. Other folks on Sierra Highway seem to know what's going on, but other vehicles are kind of coming up to it right now. And what's going on right now is the driver's door is open, so I'm thinking that driver's just going to kind of give himself up after realizing what just happened here. Don't know why that really happened. I mean, all the vehicles were moving, pretty along at a pretty good clip. I'm keeping an eye on one. I'm looking out the window at that smashed car and looking at the driver going into custody right there. There you go. That's one of those ones. I always hate to be saying that. It does appear to be a female driver, and it looks like she is going into custody right now after that accident. But I'm really concerned about those folks in that car. You'd think that one of the California Highway Patrol or somebody from California Highway Patrol would get a vehicle over there just to say, hey, are you okay? But right now they're taking that driver into custody, that vehicle, that party bus. It came to a stop probably because it couldn't go anymore. That female driver going into custody right now. And also, there's a lot of other civilians down there by that other vehicle. Nobody's checking on that person at all. It's right there. You went past it. It's the one that's sitting. Keep going up, keep going up, keep right there, that one. And, that's the thing. It's like nobody has kind of made their way over there. Somebody has. I just noticed somebody has. There are people from that white truck. So, look at that that car. That trunk completely gone. That was a pretty hard hit. Hopefully they're going to be okay. That driver of the party bus in custody right now. California Highway Patrol, they have to clear that vehicle, but I really hope they have at least made a call for an ambulance, and maybe some of the responding officers will make their way down there to see if that civilian, if it's just that person by themselves, is okay. The person from the pickup truck making their way back over to that civilian's vehicle right now, just, you know, and that's the thing. Even if they are okay and it just was like a hard hit, you just want to say, are you okay? You know, we just don't know. But right now, the party is over, and you can see those officers making their way over to that vehicle. They have to clear it. We've seen this on all the pursuits. This one a little bigger, a little more unusual. But again, what a shame of an ending out here with that party bus just rear-ending some poor civilian this afternoon on Sierra Highway out here in the Palmdale area.
You said it, Stu. The party is over, and wow, what an impact that was. First of all, I should say that when we took a look at the other vehicle that was hit and rear-ended, it did appear that the person inside was moving. That is a very good sign. Okay. Also, it did appear that the airbags had deployed as well, so we do know that the impact was really strong. And if you think about it, the party bus, you know, this is a very large vehicle, and moving at that rate of speed, and the impact so hard that the front end of that entire party bus had been smashed in the way it is, and then came to a stop. But that female driver now taken into custody there. We can only hope that the car that was rear-ended and all the passengers that were, the driver and the passengers that may have been inside that other vehicle, are going to be okay. Very interesting, Stu. I don't know if you can hear me, but we had been talking about that this driver, for the most part, did not seem that erratic, and for it to end this way just goes to show that no matter what, pursuits can be very, very dangerous in any situation.
Very dangerous indeed, and we, you know, anytime it ends with something with, you know, anybody hurt, it is always tragic. Hopefully, and you know, we know that there's no loss of life here, but the driver of that vehicle, thank goodness some of these motorcycle officers made their, one of them at least, went over there to make sure that that driver is okay. You know, and that is really important to see that. There's communication going on right there. You can see the driver of the vehicle talking, so these are all huge pluses, but you can see what a hard hit that was. I mean, the entire back of that car, the trunk area completely gone, the party bus damaged to the point where it can't go anymore, probably took out the radiator and etc. But you know, it's just sad, and for what? That's the big thing. Is like, I'm always really curious. I get asked that all the time, and it's so hard to find out. But why? Why did that person take that bus? Why did we all go on this ride with them? And to have it end with something like that. I'm still watching over at the party bus. The drivers definitely in custody. Officers are walking around Sierra Highway. That's going to be a little bit of a different thing. They're probably going to get this cleared shortly, but I would say probably, you know, no movement east or west out here until you know, they have at least those vehicles off the roadway. And I do know that County Fire has been called, but you know, we're in a spot right now that it's not that convenient for them. It's going to be a minute or two before paramedics make their way over here.
You know, maybe we find out in the end, Stu, the why in this situation. You have to wonder with that